Okay, this one's gonna be hard to talk about because it's not it doesn't fall down on its face in, say, the way that a lot of the first episode of Daredevil Born Again did, but it's not good. Okay, so this is an episode where I'm talking episode 4. This is an episode that feels a little bit set up, a lot of blatant theming, and it's not particularly smoothly integrated. Like this is what it is. I was gonna say what it's trying to be. No, it is. It just doesn't do it great. This is a moving the pieces on the board kind of episode. This is actually pretty typical in serialized shows, especially after you've had an episode that had a real firm conclusive moment, like something that mattered, like the death of Hector. So we have to wrap that up. We got to set up whatever is going to come next and then fill in the gaps with some reiterations of, in this case, some reiterations of the theming. And like, on a basic level, it accomplishes that, but it's not smooth. It's clunky. All right. Let me just work my way through this. So we get Angela, Hector's niece, getting actually, did they show her getting his effects? She will eventually. If you didn't know, in the comics, Angela becomes White Tiger. She'll have the amulet. I know she was technically established, I think in the previous episode. They really should have done more to establish her both as a character and her connection to Hector. This might partially be a complication of the passing of the actor, and maybe if the character had always been planned to die this early in the show, maybe she would have been more established, or maybe this was always the plan. Like, I don't know. I don't know at what point in the production pipeline he passed away, so I don't know how disruptive that was to initial plans. That all that having been said, I'm glad they kept him in and kept his performance. He was quite good. So Angela's not bad, but like she should have been better established because that scene could have really carried some real emotional weight, and it carries a little, but it could have hit so much harder than it does, just because I don't really know her. Actually, speaking of people I don't know, I keep forgetting that Matt and the psychiatrist, counselor, whatever she is, are dating. I keep forgetting that. So like Matt goes back to his house towards the end of the episode, and she's there, and he's like, I got used to being alone, and now it would feel wrong if you weren't here. And I'm like, that's funny. I forgot she was supposed to be there. And she's not even a bad character, but again, I understand her relationship to the Fisks way more than I do anything about her relationship with Matt. It's not like I don't buy it. They have enough on-screen chemistry that, like, okay, I buy that these people are together, but like the show's not bothering to establish the nature of this connection, and so it just feels like a substitution for the more potent connections he had with Karen and Foggy, which we're not getting. So she feels like a fill-in, and they have good enough chemistry that it shouldn't feel like that, but there just isn't the time being put into developing their relationship. All the time was put into the meet cute and establishing that they are now a thing, and now it's just like, cool, and they're a thing, and we're moving on. And like, part of me might go, okay, I appreciate that as someone who doesn't particularly care for romantic subplots, except that if you're not gonna remind me and justify why this relationship matters within the narrative, then I'm kind of back to, I'd rather you just didn't have it here. What is it contributing? It's right now, all it is a tentative connection between Matt and Fisk beyond the much stronger connection they have through their shared history. So like, what? All right. Speaking of Fisk, so Wilson and Vanessa, the counseling, I want to say that this affair is a new thing. I want to say that. The only reason I'm hesitant to say that is because I have forgotten enough of the details of Daredevil Season 3 and of Fisk's appearance in Echo that I don't know if that was ever established. at any point. It might have been. I can't remember. If it was, it didn't stick. And if it wasn't, well, again, if you were to break down the argument for me for why the Adam thing, A, comes up, and B, is a closing note on the frickin' episode, I know what the argument is. The argument would most likely be that we are establishing Adam so that we can have that closing moment. And the reason we're having that closing moment is to assure the audience that Wilson is not becoming a forgiven person after he appears to somewhat forgive Daniel and whatever his top assistant woman's name is for the screw up and the leak. The thing is, though, I didn't need that assurance. First of all, he threatens Daniel immediately after, quote unquote, forgiving him. So, like, I never doubted the idea that, like, he was still a violent guy. Not to mention the fact that I never read that as him, like, forgiving this man. What he is and he says it flat out, he's cherishing the loyalty, which is, how most corrupt politicians work. They care more about you being loyal than they do about you being good at the job. That is well documented at this point. So, like, I don't need this reassurance that he actually is still a violent creep. I know he's a violent creep. He's the freaking Kingpin. I know, like, it doesn't. I think maybe what the problem is that this is a consequence of trying to make something that is both building off of the previous appearances of Daredevil and his supporting cast, but also be something that people can take in starting here. And it doesn't really work as that, but like moments like that with Adam feel like the kind of thing that would make a lot more sense to show and depict in, say, season 1 of Daredevil, where you're really establishing the depths of what Wilson can do and is willing to do. But like, if you've been following the show at all, you already know this is redundant information. And if you haven't been following the show before taking on Daredevil Born Again, there's going to be a bunch of other stuff that you're like, wait, why are we doing all this stuff that's like established that I don't understand? Like bringing Frank into it and barely explaining what the hell his deal is and what's going on with him. And I don't like this take on Frank. I understand other people do. And I don't think it's a wrong take on Frank, but it is a take I do not enjoy. This guilt-riddled, PTSD laden mess of a man. Like, if you're going to try and take the Punisher truly seriously, this is kind of what you have to do, except I'm of the view that Punisher works best when you don't take it too seriously. When you do something like Welcome Back Frank, or you do something like Punisher Warzone, very underrated film, and the single best performance of the Punisher ever put onto film. Like, that to me is when the Punisher works, where like, yeah, it's serious insofar as he's killing people and he takes what he does seriously, but at the same time, like, it's a little silly. It kind of needs to be, because otherwise, here's the problem with a character like Frank. If you take him too seriously, you're going to find yourself asking, how is he still alive? Not even in the why aren't other people managing to kill him way, but in a how is he not just, whether it be deliberately or unintentionally, completely destroyed his own life. And yeah, you could argue he did kind of like, but I mean like fully. How there's a reason that most revenge stories that take themselves super seriously tend to end with the person seeking revenge either having to leave to completely rebuild a new life 100% or just flat out dying at the end. Because otherwise, nothing else really works or lands right. So, and I've gone off on a tangent on Frank. Again, the problem's not John Barenthal. He's fine. He is doing what is being asked of him for this take on Frank. I don't like this take on Frank. I don't think it's particularly interesting. I actually think it makes the Punisher more generic, because part of what feels unique about the Punisher is that when done well, the Punisher is a really, really careful balancing act of a guy with just enough of a moral compass that you can root for him, but who is also undeniably a nasty human being. Like, that's Frank. Like, Frank doesn't give a... You know the word. I try not to swear so much. Frank doesn't care. Like, Frank knows what he thinks needs to be done. He knows how to do it. He's gonna do it. Frank doesn't care. That's the Frank that I tend to like. So when you make Frank care, you lose me a little bit. And the whole thing with the Netflix and now MCU take on Frank is this is a Frank who cares. Okay. That's just not what I want out of the Punisher. It just isn't. So there's all that. Leroy. Boy. All right. Props to the actor. The actor worked his butt off trying to sell this character. And he had to, because it's not a character. It's a theme delivery device. Leroy, I will lay down money, never comes up again. I bet you we never see him again because he served his function. His function was to speak core themes of how broken everything is to Matt and to the audience. Here's the problem, though. Matt should already know. Like, seriously, Leroy should not be telling Matt literally anything that he doesn't already know. Matt, the nature of Daredevil is that he does his best to work within the system, but he knows that system doesn't always work and has massive holes in it. That's why he's also Daredevil. He has to work outside the system to try and deal with all the holes and the gaps in it, even as he is willing to work within it in the day job. So he knows the system is busted. So having this guy basically sit him down and explain to him, here's the ways in which the system is busted. Matt should already know that. It's not like he stopped being Daredevil at the start of this new thing because he came to believe that he could do just as much good within the court system. No, he stopped doing it because his friend died. The system didn't become unbroken. So, like, again, it's just having somebody lay out the themes. And again, the actor delivers it about as well as it was going to be delivered, but it should be unnecessary, and it feels more than just a touch, a tad, a tiny bit clunky. So, and then there's the freaking, I don't know what character they're doing. It's probably some kind of deep cut from the street level heroes, but whoever this person with the mask with like it looks like running tears thing that they have at the very beginning and the very end, and I don't know what the hell's going on, and that feels like nothing but setup for something later on, which it doesn't really feel like the show should be doing because, you know, Matt and Fisk are the heart of this thing, and we've got an active problem with how corrupt we're showing the police to be. So, like, what you should be doing, like the story you've set up, is Matt trying to figure out how to take on a corrupted police force that is bigger and has more resources than him. But instead, you're introducing this, I don't know, what is he, like a Jigsaw style? I don't know what the hell this guy's deal is, but obviously he's going to be here for Matt to put his focus on so that we're not dealing with the bigger problems. This particular episode reeks of a fill-in. It reeks of, okay, we know the big stuff we want to do next episode, and we did some big stuff the previous episode, but there's just enough stuff that we have to tie up from the previous episode, and just enough stuff that we have to set up for the next episode, that we can't just leap from one to the other. We need something in between. Well, what do? I don't know. Just fill it with stuff. Again, it's not bad stuff. None of it is like inherently deeply flawed, and pretty much all of it I can see the thinking that went behind it, but in execution it just feels like it was put together to check the boxes of what this episode needed to be, and as a result it does it pretty clunkily. I did like Matt confronting the cop in the hallway. I'm here for that. Like, I'm hoping that thread doesn't just get dropped now that they've established that at least that specific cop didn't kill Hector with, you know, the heartbeat. Matt can determine whether he's lying based off that thing that they do. I'm hoping that's not the last time we see that cop, because, like, dude's vengeful. He should come back. That should be more of a recurrent thing. But, yeah. This is not the kind of sloppy episode that makes me worried for the rest of the show, but it is the kind of sloppy episode that makes me go, it didn't have to be like this. You could have found a way to do what you need to do and wrap it in a better package than this. So that's where I'm at on this one. I don't think it's a good episode, but it's not the kind of bad that makes me fear for the rest of the show, for the most part. I'm a little worried about what this masked whatever dude is and how much attention he's gonna pull. I feel like they're doing too much. I feel like we've got Mayor Fisk, we have Matt trying to be retired, but feeling the pull back towards it. We have the tension between Wilson and Vanessa. We have now done White Tiger, potentially set up his niece to carry on his legacy. And we're bringing in the Punisher. We have the corrupt cops. And now we're doing whatever the hell this, like, slow down. This is more stuff than should be going on. Well. Maybe it'll smooth out next episode. We'll see. Daredevil Born Again, Episode 4. What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe, all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so just come on back. Next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons. Robin Moore, Goddess Elida, Zubin Lafula, Jen, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Oliver B., Melissa Pedersen, Movie Turtle, Ulrich Bogdan, Melinda Walters, Auntie Kate 808, Andre, Becky Sparks, Claire Wright, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Quite Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Toku Blahuvian, Adam R.D.L. Taylor, Pal Barabajagal, Mary Mello, Mira G, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. If you want to help me ensure that I can keep these guys fed, as well as the other animals and strange creatures that sometimes occupy my house, check out the rewards on the Patreon. Yeah, hello to you too. Bless you.